This is a depiction of the North Antic nuclear power plant. Unit 1, Unit 2. Okay. Cool water comes in, nuclear fusion, or whatever that thing is, and then it pumps out all this hot water. Now, before it gets all this hot water, which at its configuration was supposed to be 135 degrees on this side, it's about 105 now, worst case scenario. Either way, the circulatory system is a 200-mile shoreline lake that it takes to cool and keep this down, and it takes a tremendous amount of even the energy it produces just to cool and keep even this limited finite cooling system working. This is, in our configuration, a diode. It's just like a halfway rectifier. What we're doing here is we are extending the heat sink system, okay, like basically adding a fan to a computer central core, and that fan central core accelerates the cooling and brings the cooling efficiency up 30%, which means that the amount of power that this could generate that has been siphoned off to cool the water that circulates here now goes out to the grid instead of being wasted right here and the byproduct of that being placed into the environment. Okay? You are extending the cooling by reconfiguring the plant, by extending the heat sink, by putting these earth energy generator systems. Okay? All they are thermal coax between point A and point B, lower elevation to higher elevation, lower elevation to higher elevation, lower elevation, higher elevation. Because the reason we know that's the lower elevation is the lake's there. Okay, water always accumulates downhill. The heat, however, goes uphill. Okay? Now, if you want to get heat to flow autonomously, you simply put in an elevation difference between point A and point B. It's very similar if you were to take a tube and put it here and siphon gas like out of a car or something. Okay, so once you get it going, she goes. Same thing here. If you invert the thermodynamics for liquid fluids, you now have the thermodynamic mix and drain for air fluids. In this case, the tubing system is going through the warm side of the lake, just above the surface, and then it goes up through, picks up by conduction the thermal energy, and that energy, because warm air rises through the generation system and comes out the other end, cooling the earth while it does that, but also shunting this heat into ambient earth ground. Okay? Now, the thermal coax, the ambient energy chamber system, it's really a pipe with heat sinks on the center of it. It's rather simple. I mean, I'm not sure why you guys didn't come up with this, because you're supposed to be engineers. But the problem is that most engineers don't know physics. Well, they know about physics, but they don't understand physics. Okay? But physics allows you to do magical things. In this case, always raining every day, making water out of air, simply by taking high dew point water, bringing it into a system, coupling it conductively against the interior of a pipe where it condenses and that water flows downhill. See, by fixing the power station, you're actually going to be able to refill the reservoir just from what would normally go out into the environment. But bottom line here is that you're able to double the power, the effective power of the plant. Not just electrical power. You can't be so finite in your thinking. You double the effective power of the use of heat, the use of water, that sort of thing. Now, also, a byproduct of this heat that's been wasted is you can put in an ecosystem wherever you want to along this energy core that mimics any season on Earth. So if you want to grow kiwi, you know, on this side of the planet, you want to grow something, bananas here in Virginia or whatever. If you want to grow fish or harvest things, you have the power from this wasted energy that normally just goes into the environment to run an ecosystem with no problems. And that's passively. That's using ambient mass against autonomously enabled kinetic energy fluid flow that you're using conduction to use as your transmission system, or within your transmission system, which is tubing. But also that transmission system also returns the water back to your plant as well. So instead of just having an electrical generator, okay, you have a water processing plant. Instead of having an electrical generator, you produce an earth energy generator system that produces hydrogen, oxygen, that's chemical energy, okay, without hydrocarbons, just simply using water. Because see, when you take water, see, this all started because of this data center crap that Louisa County has put on us. But that's a good thing. You know, what is meant for evil is now being turned to good. See, now all of a sudden, a person here, because you're dropping the ambient temperature 15 degrees on the lake, can now go on their porch in the summertime and enjoy the lake, as opposed to sitting inside their house and having to run air conditioning to view the lake because it's so ambiently hot in the air. This system not only generates energy in these other different forms, but it improves the quality of life for the residents. In fact, there's so much cooling power here within the system, leveraged against the thermonuclear energy coming out of splitting these atoms here, that you can literally freeze the bottom of this warm water industrial lake and drop it even further. Now, this basically is the block diagram for units 3, units 4, units 5, and how many ever you want. But unit 6 right here, that right there, if you use the static energy generator that's in the Smitty patent, it takes the waste heat off of the turbines and literally turns it into lightning, artificial lightning, artificial spring, artificial lightning, chemical energy. And by the way, when hydrogen and oxygen are put together, it only takes, less than 12 volts to split the things apart. But when you put them back together, this can produce as much as 3,500, 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit of temperature. You can't do that with that, okay? But what you can do is take the waste energy from this nuclear fusion process here, okay? And you can produce clean energy from your waste energy. I know we're on the AC grid, Canada's on the DC grid, but here you have a combination now of an AC grid and a DC grid. And as you well know, DC power transmitted, you can't transmit it as easily as the Tesla method, okay? But it's far more powerful because it's pure lightning. So if you want a pure electrical energy generator, you go ahead and go with the unit 6 option. But if you want the earth energy generator options, you simply go to this one's right here. Making rain every day, utilizing the thermal energy that instead of going into the environment is now rectified and put to good practical use.